Hi guys, welcome back to Cup of Teach. This time we're going to discuss representation of function including piecewise. Let us define first function. A function f is a relation in which element of the domain corresponds to exactly one element of the range. So ano nga ba yung tinatawag nating relation? Relation is any set of ordered pairs x, y. X is the set of all first coordinates called domain. Y, the set of all second coordinates, is called the range. F of x is the way of writing a function. For example, f of x is equal to x squared. F is a function name, x is input, x squared what to output. For example, input or x, we have here 1, 2, 3. Ang output or y natin ay 1, 2, 3. So we have here 1 correspond to 1, 2 correspond to 2, and 3 correspond to 3. So in this case, this is 1-to-1 correspondence, and this is function. Let's have here another domain. 1, 2, 3. Ang range natin ay 1, 2. So always remember, ang domain input at x ay pareho lang. Output y, range ay pare-pareho lang yan. 1 correspond to 1, 2 correspond to 1, and 3 correspond to 2. So this is many-to-one correspondence. This is function. Look at the last example. 2, that is the input or x. Ang output or y natin ay 1, 2, 3. So 2 correspond to 1, 2 correspond to 2, and 2 correspond to 3. So this is one-to-many correspondence. This is not function. Kasi kung makikita nyo dito, yung input natin ay 3 beses siya pair sa output. So kapag ganito ang given, this is not function. Kasi sabi nga natin, kinakailangan ang domain natin ay minsan lang. Hindi siya po pwedeng maulit. Let's have another example. Set of 5, 3, 7, 5, and 2, 1. So, ang given na to ay function. Kasi if you're going to look at the domain, 5, 7, 2, ay walang naulit. Number 5, set ay 4, 5, 3, 6, and 4, 2. So, mapapansin nyo dito, ang domain natin ay naulit, yung 4. So, kapag may naulit tayong domain, definitely this is not function. Ways to describe the function. Number 1 is mapping diagram. Let's have here 2 examples. So, yung una nating example, that is function. We have here 1, 2, 3 for the domain, and for the range, A, B, and C. So, yung 1 correspond to A, 2 correspond to B, and 3 correspond to C. So, this is one-to-one correspondence. That is why this is function. Then, yung second example natin, 1, 2, ang ating domain at ang ating range ay A, B, and C. So, yung 1 natin correspond to A, 2 correspond to B, and 2 correspond to C. So, mapapansin natin yung ating 2 na domain ay 2 beses pinartner doon sa ating range. Kaya, this is not function. Number 2, table of values. So, let's have here the input or yung x, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ang output or y natin ay 3, 5, 7, and 10. So, mapapansin nyo sa ating input or x values ay wala siyang naulit. Therefore, this is function. Next is input natin or yung ating x values 1, 2, 3, and 3. Output, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So, mapapansin natin dito, ang ating output ay may naulit na number, which is 3. Therefore, this is not function. Basta palaging tandaan, kapag may naulit sa domain, this is not function. Number 3, rule or correspondence. For example, f of x is equal to x squared minus 2. So, para masabi nating rule, kinakailangan siya magbigay ng values ng x, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next is graph. So, paano natin malalaman kung ang graph is a function? We're going to use the vertical line test. So, ano ba ang vertical line test? A vertical line test is a graph represent a function if and only if no vertical line intersect the graph in more than one point. So, ibig sabihin, kinakailangan ay isang point lang ang daanan ng ating vertical line test para masabi natin na siya ay function. Pero, kung 2 o more than 2 ang ating points na dadaanan ng vertical line test, therefore, that is not function. Okay, for example, so kung ito ang ating graph at ito ang ating vertical line test, so ibig sabihin, isang beses lang siya nagdaan dun sa point. So, dito siya. So, this is function. So, kahit saan tayo mag-draw ng vertical line test at isa lang ang tinamaan ng ating vertical line test na point, therefore, that is function. So, kahit dito ka mag-draw, sa kabila ng vertical line test ay isang point lang din ang dadaanan ng ating vertical line test. Let's have another example. So, this is also a function. Kasi isang point lang ang dinaanan ng vertical line test. Kung dito naman natin ilalagay ang ating vertical line test, ay isa lang din point ang madadaanan niya. So, this is function. So, kahit saang parte dito ng graph, ilagay ang vertical line test, isang point lang din ang dadaanan. Look at the last example. So, kung ito ang given ng graph natin at nag-draw tayo ng vertical line test, dalawang points ang ating dadaanan. Isang point dito at isang point dito. Therefore, that is not a function. Number 5, equation. So, paano natin malalaman kung ang equation is a function? So, example ng equation na function ay y is equal to x squared minus 1. Pero, if an equation is solved for y and more than one value of y can be obtained for a particular value of x, then the equation does not define y as a function of x. So, ibig sabihin, kapag nagkaroon tayo ng dalawang value ng y, it means that is not function. For example, x squared plus y squared minus 4 is equal to 0. So, let us solve for y. Transpose natin ang negative 4 sa left side, so it will become positive. And then, yung x squared, transpose din natin sa ating right side, so it will become negative. So, palaging tandaan, pag nag-transpose, you have to change the sign. So, we will have now y squared is equal to 4 minus x squared. So, since ang isosolve natin ay y, meron pa tayo ditong squared. So, para makancel natin ang squared, kinakailangan natin maglagay ng square root ng both sides. So, yung 2 na exponent ni y ay pwede na nating i-cancel kasi ang index nito ay 2. So, that is divisible by 2. So, we will have now y is equal to positive, negative, square root of 4 minus x squared. So, since this is equation, kaya tayo magkakaroon ng positive and negative square root of 4 minus x squared. So, i-test natin kung magkakaroon tayo ng dalawang value ng y aside from this. So, ang x natin ay equal to 1. Let us use this equation. Y is equal to positive and negative square root of 4 minus 1 squared. So, yung 1 dito nanggaling sa value ng x. Ang 1 squared is positive 1. So, we will have now y is equal to positive and negative square root of 3. Kasi, yung 4 minus natin yung 1, kaya siya ay 3. So, yung y natin ay dalawa ang value. Isang positive square root of 3 at isang negative square root of 3. So, nagkaroon tayo ng dalawang value ng y. Therefore, this is not a function. Other types of functions. The first one is linear function. So, ano nga ba ang linear function? A linear function is an algebraic equation in which each term is either a constant or the product of constant and in the first degree of a single variable. So, ibig sabihin, ang kanyang variable ay naka-first degree. A linear function has the following form. Y or f of x is equal to mx plus b. So, kung ito ang variable natin, yung x, naka-first degree lang siya. Yung b dito at ang m are real numbers. The graph of linear function is a straight line. So, let's have example. Y is equal to 2x plus 5x. Y is equal to 2x plus 1. F of x is equal to 12x plus 1. So, ang ating variable dito ay x at naka-first degree. Then, dito ay x din. Ito ay naka-first degree. Then, yung x dito ay naka-first degree din. Kaya, sila ay example ng linear function. And the graph of a linear function is a straight line. So, ito yung kanyang itsura. Next is quadratic function. So, ano nga ba ang quadratic function? Is a function that can be written in the form f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Yung f of x, we read that as f of x is also equal to y. Or we can write this as y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. Papaano kung ang ating a ay 0? Kung magiging 0 ang a natin, definitely, itong term na to ay magiging 0 na, so we can eliminate it. So, ang matitira ay bx plus c. So, hindi na siya quadratic function. It is fall in the linear function kasi naka-first degree na siya. Kung ang a ay 0. So, kinakailangan hindi maging 0 ang a natin para quadratic function siya. The highest exponent of the variable is 2. Hence, it is called a second degree function. So, palaging tandaan, ang quadratic function natin ay palaging naka-second degree. Kapag linear function naman, naka-first degree. Okay. Its graph is a parabola. Yung para siyang payu. Examples, y is equal to the quantity of x plus 4 quantity squared minus 2. So, naka-second degree siya. Next is y is equal to negative x squared minus 4x plus 3. So, naka-second degree din siya. And number 3, y plus 4x squared is equal to 8x minus 3. So, naka-second degree din ang ating variable na x. Pero be careful kasi meron tayong equation na po pwede siyang makancel. Depende sa given na equation. And the graph of quadratic function is parabola. So, naka-open siya sa taas. Kapag ang given sa inyo na graph ay naka-open sa taas, it means that this is positive. So, ang ating a is positive. So, f of x is equal to ax squared. Ang ating vertex ay nasa ilalim. So, this is the minimum point. And then yung line passing through the vertex we call that the axis of symmetry. If your graph is open downward, ito naman yung negative. So that is f of x is equal to negative ax squared. At ang ating vertex ay nandito, nasa taas, that is the maximum point. Ang ating axis of symmetry, the line passes through the vertex, is the axis of symmetry. Number 3, constant function and identity function. So, ang constant function and identity function ay naka-under kay linear function. So, a linear function f is a constant function if f of x is equal to mx plus b, where m is equal to 0 and b is any real number. So, kapag ang m natin ay 0, matitira na lang si b. Kaya, ang constant function natin ay f of x is equal to b. So, yung b natin dito yung constant. Example, g of x, so since ang ginamit dito ay g, so we can read this as g of x is equal to 4. So, yung 4 ay constant. G of x is equal to negative 5. At ang graph niya ay pa-horizontal. It's either dito sa taas or dito sa baba. Next is yung identity function. A linear function f is an identity function if f of x is equal to mx plus b, where m is equal to 1 and b is equal to 0, is any real number. So, kapag ang b natin ay 0, matitira yung mx. At ang m natin ay 1. So, kung ang m natin ay 1, definitely f of x is equal to x only. So, the output of an identity function is same as its input. So, paano yun? For example, ang h natin, ang set of ordered pairs natin ay 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. So, para lang siyang mirror. Example na equation natin ay g of x is equal to x. H of x is equal to x. And the graph of identity function is a straight line that passes through the origin. So, palagi lang siyang nagpa-pass through sa ating origin. Ang origin natin ay itong nasa gitna. So, nandyan lang siya palagi. Number 4, absolute value function. So, ano ba ang absolute value function? It is a function that contains an algebraic expression within absolute value symbols. So, this is the symbol for the absolute value. The absolute value of a number is its distance from 0 on the number line. The absolute value parent function, written as f of x, is equal to the absolute value of x. Is defined as for x greater than 0, f of x is equal to x. For x is equal to 0, f of x is equal to 0. And for x is less than 0, f of x is equal to negative x. So let's have here examples. F of x is equal to the absolute value of x. F of x is equal to negative absolute value of x. F of x is equal to the absolute value of x minus 3. Number 4, f of x is equal to the absolute value of x plus 4. Number 5, f of x is equal to 2 times the absolute value of x. At ang graph ng absolute value function ay para siyang pa-V. So, kapag naka-open upward, that is positive. F of x is equal to the absolute value of x. At ang vertex ay yun na dun sa baba. And then, ang ating line of symmetry, kung nasa ng vertex, dun siya magpa-pass through. And then, yung isa naman na itsura ng absolute value function ay yung naka-open downward. So, kapag naka-open downward, it means ito ay negative. So, f of x is equal to negative absolute value of x. Ang ating vertex ay nando sa taas. At ang ating line of symmetry, kung nasa ng vertex, doon siya magpa-pass through. Number 5, piecewise function or compound function. It is a function that is defined by different formulas or functions for each given interval. An interval is a set of real numbers that contains all real numbers lying between any two numbers of the set. So the function is defined by pieces of functions for each part of the domain. For example, if x is greater than 0, ang f of x natin ay 2x. If x is equal to 0, ang f of x natin ay 1. If x is less than 0, ang f of x natin ay negative 2x. So f of x is a piecewise function because it is defined uniquely for the three intervals x is greater than 0, x is equal to 0, and x is less than 0. So let's have here find f of 8. So since 8 is greater than 0, so dito siya magpo-fall. Therefore, we're going to evaluate it using yung 2x. Evaluate f of 8 is f of x is equal to 2x. So substitution lang tayo. F of 8 is equal to 2 times 8. Kasi yung x natin ay 8. Then, multiply. The answer is 16. Another example. Find f of negative 6. So, saan magpo-fall si negative 6? So, ang negative 6 ay less than 0. So, nandito siya sa negative 2x. So, we will have now f of negative 6 is equal to negative 2 times negative 6 is equal to 12. Kasi pareho silang negative. Pag minultiply mo ang negative ay positive. Number 3, find f of 0. So, nandito siya. Therefore, ang ating f of x ay 1. So, f of 0 is equal to 1. Paano natin i-graph ang piecewise function or compound function? For example, given, we have here 4x less than or equal to 2, ang f of x natin ay x minus 1. For x is less than 1, ang f of x natin ay 3. For x is greater than or equal to 0, ang f of x natin ay negative 2x plus 6. So, iisa-isahin natin tong equation na to. The first one, y is equal to x minus 1. So, palaging tandaan, ang f of x ay y lang din siya. So, pareho lang sila. So, ang first equation natin, ito. Then, kukunin natin ang y-intercept, tsaka x-intercept. So, kapag y-intercept, gagawin natin 0 ang x. So, kapag ginawa natin 0 ang x, ang y natin ay negative 1. So, therefore, ang first ordered pair natin ay 0 kasi ginawa natin 0 ang x at negative 1 ang ating y. Next, kunin natin ang slope or yung m. So, ang slope natin ay rise over run. Ito yung numerical coefficient ni x. Okay, kung natatandaan nyo, y is equal to mx plus b. So, yung m natin doon yung slope. So, rise over run. So, ang numerical coefficient ni x ay 1. Therefore, ang ating rise ay 1, ang run natin ay 1. Pag di-divide natin itong dalawa, ang sagot ay 1. So, pareho dito sa numerical coefficient. Ang condition natin ay x is less than or equal to 2. So, graph natin. Unahin natin ang isang ordered pair, 0, negative 1. So, nandito siya. Then, sunod yung slope natin, rise over run. Magra-rise tayo ng isa, magra-run tayo ng isa. So, nandito. Same din dito. Then, sunod dito. Then, sa baba, dito siya. Then, sunod. Okay? Then, ang condition natin ay less than 2. So, ito si 2. Okay? Less than, so ibig sabihin, papunta siya sa left side. So, magmula dito, pababa tayo. So, since ang 3 ay hindi na dito kasama, pwede na natin siyang i-remove. Okay. Then, palaging tandaan, pag gumamit tayo ng equal, solid dot ang gagamitin natin dito sa tapat ni 2. Next ay y is equal to 3. So, since given na ang y natin, which is 3, so ang x natin ay 0. So, meron na tayong first ordered pair. So, kapag sinulat natin yan, y is equal to 0x plus 3 kasi wala na tayong x. And then, ang slope natin or yung m, rise over run, is equal to 0 over 1. So, paano naging 0? Tingin lang dito. So, 0 ang ating rise. Ang run natin ay 1. Pag dinivide natin itong dalawa, 0 ang kalalabasan. Ang condition natin, x is less than 1. So, let us graph. 0, 3. So, 0. Papunta dito. So, nandito siya. Rise ng 0. So, hindi ka tataas. Magra-run ka lang ng isa. So, dito. Next. Okay. Then, sa kabila, ganun din. Then, sabi niya dito ay less than 1. So, eto yung 1 natin. Dito siya. So, ibig sabihin, papunta tayo dito sa left side. Okay? Pero, ito ay less than 1. So, ibig sabihin, ang dot natin dito kay 1 ay hollow. So, butas. Then, graph na natin. Itong dalawa ay hindi nakasama. So, kailangan na natin siyang tanggalin. Next, y is equal to negative 2x plus 6. So, kunin natin ang y-intercept. Therefore, we will have now y is equal to 6. So, ang x natin ay 0 na, ang y natin ay 6. So, this is the first ordered pair. Next is the slope. Ang slope natin, tingin lang dito sa ating equation, rise over run. So, ang rise natin ay negative 2. That is the numerical coefficient of x. At ang run natin ay 1. Pag dinivide itong dalawa, negative 2. Pa rin siya. Ang condition natin ay x is greater than or equal to 0. So, plot muna natin yung 0, negative, positive 6 rather. So, nandito siya. Okay? Then, magra-rise tayo ng negative 2. So, pababa tayo kasi negative. Yan. Then, run ng isa. Then, same din dito, 1, 2. Then, run ng isa. Dito. Then, sunod, 1, 2. Then, run ng isa. And then, dito din. So, nandun siya. So, since ang condition natin ay x is greater than or equal to 0. So, ito ang 0 natin. So, kapag greater than 0, ibig sabihin, papunta tayo dito sa right side. So, magmula dito sa 0, papunta tayo dito. Okay? So, since ito ay greater than or equal to 0, so meron tayong equal doon, solid dot ang gagamitin natin dito sa tapat ni 0. Then, itong katapat ni negative 1, tatanggalin na natin. So, hindi na siya kasama. So, this is now the graph of piecewise function.
Thank you for watching. That's it for this video. If you learned something here, don't forget to like and subscribe to Cup of Teach. See you on the next lesson. Bye!